Pope Leo
Thank you for joining us, and it's time for our news bulletin right here on Luntha television, and you're with me, Patrick Poopa. But first, the headlines.
Pope Leo XIV vows to speak out against war, distances himself from politics. Roads Fund Administration announces plans to expand toll gate network to boost road funding. World Health Organization WHO challenges Malawi to finance the fight against neglected tropical diseases. In international news, millions of people in Sudan surviving on 1 meal a day as food crisis deepens.
Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. Pope Leo XIV says he will continue to speak out strongly against war, emphasizing that his mission is to preach the gospel rather than engage in political debates. Speaking to journalists aboard the papal flight to Angers on April 13, the Pope said he would not engage in political debates, including comments linked to U.S. President Donald Trump. He emphasized his focus on promoting peace and ending wars, while reaffirming that his role is to proclaim the gospel and caution against its misuse for political purposes. We have a Vatican News report read by Tandiwe Mzumara.
Peace is one of the guiding themes of this apostolic journey to 4 African nations. Pope Leo explained that his journey is special for a number of reasons, including that it was meant to be the first of the pontificate. He expressed his joy at being able to revisit the land of St. Augustine, who the Pope said offers a very important bridge in interreligious dialogue. The papal plane touched down in the capital city of Algiers, and Pope Leo was welcomed by the President of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, Abdelmajid Tebboune. Greeted by rainy weather, the Holy Father went directly into the Salon d'Honneur of the airport, where the honor guard performed different anthems. Following the welcome ceremony, Pope Leo had a brief private meeting with President Tebboune. After the private audience, the Pope traveled to the Maqam el-Shahid for his first stop during the 3-day visit to Algeria. There, Pope Leo XIV emphasized the importance of forgiveness as a pathway to lasting peace during a visit to the Maqam el-Shahid's Martyrs Monument in Algiers. The Pope emphasized that the future belongs to those who choose peace, stressing that justice will ultimately prevail over injustice and that violence will not have the final word. He noted that the visit to the monument was a tribute to Algeria's history and the sacrifices made for independence, dignity, and sovereignty. In a country where there are different cultures and religions and ways of life, Pope Leo highlighted the importance of mutual respect. The Pope's April 30th to 23rd visit will also include stops in Cameroon, Angola, and Equatorial Guinea, making it the longest trip of his pontificate so far.
The late Father Francis Damasi has been described as a devoted servant of God, an inspiring preacher who touched thousands of lives in Malawi and beyond. St. Peter and Paul Parish Natenje Parish Priest Father Thomas Kasia, who served as his mentor in the seminary, said Father Damasi was exceptional in his calling and built a strong following of more than 44,000 people online through his teachings and parish-based ministry. He said the late priest's faith-driven work left lasting impact on many believers both locally and internationally. As Christians prepare for his burial on Tuesday, the faithful have been urged to remain strong and continue the mission he passionately upheld during his lifetime. The Roads Fund Administration has announced plans to construct 4 new toll gates in 2026-2027 financial year to enhance revenue collection for road maintenance. The expansion forms part of the efforts to strengthen sustainable funding for road infrastructure development across the country. Speaking during a media briefing in Lilongwe on Monday, Road Fund Administration Director of Finance Alex Makwata said the move will improve efficiency in toll fee collection while supporting ongoing and future road projects. We have a report read by Fales Kizombe.
The Roads Fund Administration has assured Malawians that it will continue engaging key stakeholders to ensure transparency and efficiency in toll operations. Makwata explained that newly introduced toll gates are strategically located on major roads to capture more traffic and reduce revenue leakages. He emphasized that the additional toll gates will help the government maintaining and rehabilitating roads more consistently, improving transport services and safety for road users.
We've advanced a lot. We have already identified 4 sites where we have already paid compensations ready for us to start the construction. So we have 2 sites along the M1 in Mponera. We have Kamanga and Gwai. The other one is near Kamenya, the other one is near Mponera. And then we have another site on the Lilongwe Salima Road, which we have identified, and then another site, Lilongwe Nchinchi at Chireka.
The Roads Fund Administration has allocated 50 billion kwacha for the Roads Authority to undertake sectional road rehabilitation of the bad sections in resurfacing and widening the identified poor sections in the country. The new toll gate locations have been identified as Nkamanga in Mponera and Gwai in Nkamenya, both along M1 Road, and other sites include Chileka on the Lilongwe Nchinji Road and Naluva on the Lilongwe Salima Road.
Malawi has been challenged to set aside adequate funding towards the fight against neglected tropical diseases currently affecting over 50% of the population. The call by country's representative of the World Health Organization was made during the opening of a 4-day meeting program which is underway in Lilongwe. The representative, Dr. Charles Korea Juguna, said the underfunding remains a big challenge in the elimination of the diseases in most African countries, including Malawi. Costas Kamtemeni reports.
During the meeting opened on Monday, Njuguna urged countries including Malawi to increase domestic funding and creating dedicated budget lines for NTD programs in order to eliminate the diseases by 2030. On the other hand, he commended Malawi for good strides in eradicating some neglected diseases such as trachoma, lymphatic filariasis, and bilharzia, especially among school-going children.
It means that we have to rethink on how best entities can be financed through the domestic financing mechanism, and therefore a lot of advocacy is required with the ministries of finance to ensure that in the allocation of budget there is a line budget that is going to go into issue of controlling and eliminating neglected tropical diseases. We have achieved a lot of milestones, but again, if we don't finance the push so that we can achieve the SDG targets by 2030, then we are likely to stagnate, which is not what we want. We want to continue making progress, we want to move forward, but definitely that requires financing.
On her part, Minister of Health Madalitso Baloi said government is integrating NTDs into national health financing and service delivery systems. She also said the country has strengthened surveillance systems to promote early detection and response to any emerging cases of neglected tropical diseases.
We eliminated leprosy in 1994. In 2020, we eliminated the liver blindness, also known as onchocerciasis. And in 2022, we also eliminated. So what we are doing is, we want by 2020 to eliminate all other neglected tropical diseases that are remaining. For example, sleeping sickness. For example, also eliminated elephantiasis, which at the moment we want to make sure that we manage some of the effects that come with such a disease. In 2025, we conducted the mass drug administration just to make sure that onchocerciasis, liver blindness, bilharzia is all eliminated by 2030.
The meeting will run until this Thursday while bringing together health experts and program managers across Africa to review progress and strengthen coordination in the fight against NTDs. Meanwhile, Malawi continues to face a high burden of neglected tropical diseases, particularly bilharzia, which affects over 50% of the population, and the soil-transmitted hemithiasis. For Luntha News, this is Constance Kamtemen.
Human rights activists have commended the Minister of Justice for a transparent and commendable approach in the recruitment of the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Bureau, ACB. The ministry is scheduled to conduct interviews for the influential position on April 16 and 17, 2026, a process that has drawn a significant public attention amid growing calls for stronger accountability and integrity in public institutions. Speaking in an interview with the Luntha Television, Human Rights Defenders Coalition HRDC chairperson Michael Kayata said the development signals a positive step towards restoring public confidence in the fight against corruption. Alison Banda has filed this report, read by Falis Kizombe.
Kayata emphasized that a transparent and merit-based selection process is essential to ensuring the appointment of the competent and independent leader to head the Anti-Corruption Bureau. He added that Malawians are anticipating a credible outcome, particularly in light of past concerns over governance and accountability in key public offices.
Based on the past experiences, there's often public concern about whether such appointments are truly independent or influenced by external interests. Therefore, Malawians, including us in the civil society, will be watching closely to see if this process marks a departure from that pattern. There is hope that this time the selection will prioritize credibility and accountability over convenience. Ultimately, the outcome of these interviews will significantly impact public trust in the ACB as an institution that is mandated to fight corruption. A credible appointment could strengthen the fight against corruption, while a questionable one risks undermining it.
Meanwhile, another human rights activist, Undule Mwakasungula, has urged authorities to maintain professionalism and fairness throughout the interview process. He stressed that the credibility of the process will ultimately determine public trust in the institution's leadership.
You know, many Malawians, I should say Malawians, have lost hope in the Anti-Corruption Bureau. And I think it's time to start a new chapter. It should not be business as usual in the fight against corruption in this country. So this process is very important. We cannot throw it away. It's a very important process, and I believe it's a test for our commitment as a country in fighting corruption, promoting accountability, but also strengthening good governance. And I believe every Malawian is looking forward to see.
The shortlisted candidates include Acting Director General Gabriel Chembezi, a retired Justice of Appeal, and 6 others. Overall, the activists have expressed hope that the recruitment process will not only be transparent in procedure, but also deliver a leader of proven integrity and independence, capable of strengthening the Anti-Corruption Bureau's mandate and restoring public confidence in the country's fight against corruption.
In case you are just joining us, remember you are watching News Bulletin coming to you from Luntha Television, and you're with me, Patrick Pooper. But before I proceed, a recap of our top stories.
Pope Leo XIV vows to speak out against war, distances himself from politics. Roads Fund Administration announces plans to expand toll gate network to boost road funding. World Health Organization WHO challenges Malawi to finance the fight against neglected tropical diseases. In international news, millions of people in Sudan surviving on 1 meal a day as food crisis deepens.
Moving on with our news, Minister of Information Shadrack Namalomba says collaboration among regulators is a key to building a strong, inclusive and secure digital future in the SADC region. Speaking during the official opening of the Communications Regulatory Association of Southern Africa, a Regulatory Collaboration Summit 2026 in Malawi, Namalomba noted that the region is experiencing rapid digital transformation, with technologies reshaping how people communicate, trade, and access public services. More in this report, read by Bridget Manoka.
Namalomba said while innovations such as mobile financial services, artificial intelligence, and satellite connectivity present vast opportunities, they also bring complex challenges including cybersecurity threats, data governance issues, digital exclusion, and market dominance. He emphasized that such challenges can no longer be addressed by countries working in isolation, calling for stronger regional cooperation and coordinated regulatory approaches.
We must bring in approaches that will facilitate digital inclusion, but also deepening of that digital transformation. Our countries right now depend on the digital transformation. And indeed, yes, digital transformation cannot be just a success story for any country like Malawi. It must be a success story for all of us in SADC, and even all of us in Africa, even also all of us in the world. This is the message that I shared with them as they are meeting, they are deliberating, they should be discussing these issues. How can
Meanwhile, Acting Executive Secretary of CLASA, Brian Mwansa, said the summit has been convened to respond to the changing nature of regulation in the digital era. He noted that regulation has significantly evolved from the early 1990s, when the focus was mainly on telecommunications, to a broader digital ecosystem that now includes mobile money, e-commerce, cybersecurity, and other interconnected services.
Going to those countries, who's to say how that data is being utilized? Do you have a say? Do you have a say? And if you don't have a say, how do we ensure that you are protected? That protection only comes by the regulators on this side of the border and the regulators on that side of the border talking to each other and implementing these protective frameworks. So that is really the nature of this summit. We have identified all these subjects. We will talk about them in detail. We will analyze and determine why exactly collaboration is needed and how that collaboration should be done. At the end of the summit, we are hoping to have a declaration. We're calling it the Lilongwe Declaration, which will really be a stated commitment of all these stakeholders to work together in this collaborative.
The 3 days summit will, among others, discuss issues of digital infrastructure, cybersecurity, platform governance, and future-ready regulatory frameworks. It is being held under the theme Collaborative Regulation and Building Digital Ecosystems. Bridget Mwanoka, for the news.
Good governance and political experts have welcomed the Speakers of Parliament's warning on corruption, describing it as a positive move in strengthening accountability in public institutions. Good governance expert Dr. George Aima said the Speaker's stance is a bold and encouraging step in the fight against malpractice, noting that it reinforces efforts to curb corruption. Political expert Mwametsitsi said Parliament music not only oversee other arms of government, but also ensure internal accountability among its own members, adding that the Speaker's position offers renewed hope as it signals a collective commitment by institutions to confront corruption more decisively. Judith Organ has filed this report, read by Constance Kamtemeni.
Chaima has emphasized the need for transparency and accountability in the handling of public resources, warning that past abuses have been fueled by lack of openness. He further called for practical action, saying efforts to fight corruption must go beyond statements and result in visible outcomes.
On whatever public services are provided to the general public. If we do that, then I think we can do better. And finally, I think action is most important. Words are empty if we only talk and do nothing. There must be tangible and visible mechanism or actions which translates into practical, tools that can, practical evidence. We need to see evidence of that is happening from practical actions.
Meanwhile, political expert Mwametsitsi has said Parliament must not only provide oversight on other branches of government, but also ensure internal accountability among its own members. Tsitsi noted that while the move is commendable, Parliament's law is limited as it cannot prosecute offenders, stressing the need for institutions like the Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Directorate of Public Transactions to act on findings.
Challenges, Parliament has always been limited in terms of the powers that they have with regard to getting to the bottom of corrupt practices, because they cannot prosecute and they cannot enforce the law with regard to imprisoning anyone. So it depends on the executive arm, especially the likes of the ACB, the Director of Public Prosecution, to take up the matters that Parliament would raise through its oversight roles, so that culprits or any alleged culprits are brought to book and they face justice.
The Speaker of the National Assembly, Samia Gafar Suleiman, recently warned that Parliament will expose individuals involved in misconduct as part of strengthening oversight.
The Center for Human Rights Education, Advice and Assistance, CREA, has praised growing inclusivity in Malawi's education system following the selection of 8 inmates to pursue higher education. The organization said the development reflects significant progress in ensuring that education is accessible to all, including individuals in correctional facilities. Center for Human Rights Education, Advice and Assistance Executive Director Victor Mhango has since described the initiative as a positive step towards inclusive education, emphasizing that access to learning should not be limited by one's circumstances. Emmanuel Jocha with the details.
In an interview with Luntha TV, Mhango said that the move demonstrates Malawi's commitment to extending educational opportunities to marginalized groups and promoting equality through education, expressing that the selection reflects the potential that exists among prisoners when given the right support and opportunities. Mhango stressed the need for increased government support, particularly through the Ministry of Education, to fund education programs in prison. He emphasized adequate funding is essential to ensure that more inmates can access quality education and improve their chances of reintegration into society.
No, the schools in prisons are not under the Ministry of Justice. In other words, we are saying that the Ministry of Justice is not offering support to the facilities in prison. Most of the time, they are just supported by the NGOs and the well-wishers. So that's a big thing that I think we just need to look at, because we believe that educating the prisoners is also part of educating the nation.
Meanwhile, social commentator Lakembewe has commended teachers working in prison for their dedication and commitment to educating inmates. Mhango praised the Ministry of Education for creating pathways that allow prisoners to continue with their studies. Mbewe further urged young people outside the prison to take education seriously, emphasizing that access to learning is valuable opportunities that should not be taken for granted.
Inclusive and supportive of everyone, and that as a country we are trying very much hard to ensure leaving no one behind. However, this cannot go unnoticed in terms of appreciating the role that the teachers in prison have done. I would like to also take this opportunity to commend them and commend the Ministry of Education for considering that the people that are in prison are given an opportunity to access quality education just like any other citizen in Malawi.
From prisoners across Malawi have been selected to pursue studies at various universities, highlighting growing efforts to promote inclusive education and second chances through learning. From Luntha TV, this is Emmanuel Juocha.
And finally, in international news, millions of people in Sudan are surviving on just 1 meal a day as the country food crisis deepens and threatens to spread, according to a report published on Monday by a group of non-governmental organizations. Sudan's war between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, which enters its third year on Wednesday, has caused widespread hunger and displaced millions of people amid one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. We have a Reuters report read by Tanduem Zumara.
A new report by Action Against Hunger, CARE, International Rescue Committee, Mercy Corps, and the Norwegian Refugee Council has revealed worsening hunger levels in Sudan's conflict-affected regions. The report indicates that in the worst-hit areas of North Darfur and South Kordofan, millions of families are surviving on just 1 meal a day, with some going entire days without food. It further highlights that desperate coping mechanisms have emerged, with many people resorting to eating leaves and animal feed to stay alive. The army-aligned Sudanese government denies the existence of famine, while the RSF denies responsibility for such conditions in areas under its control. Some 61.7% of Sudan's population, 28.9 million people, is acutely food insecure, according to the 2026 Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan. The United Nations has reported widespread atrocities and waves of ethnically charged violence. In November, the Global Hunger Monitor confirmed for the first time famine conditions in Al Fashir as well as Kaduli. In February, the UN-backed Integrated Food Security Phase Classification found that famine thresholds for acute malnutrition have been surpassed in Ombaru, where the rate of acutely malnourished children under 5 was nearly double the famine threshold, and Kenoi. The report, based on interviews with farmers, traders, and humanitarian actors in Sudan, details how the war in Sudan is driving communities towards famine conditions due to disruptions to farming, as well as the use of starvation as a weapon of war, including deliberate destruction of farms and markets. Women and girls have been disproportionately affected as they face a high risk of rape and harassment when going to fields, visiting markets, or collecting water, according to the report.
And that also concludes our news bulletin right here on Luntha Television. But before I go, top stories once again. Pope Leo XIV vows to speak out against war, distances himself from politics. Roads Fund Administration announces plans to expand toll gate network to boost road funding. World Health Organization WHO challenges Malawi to finance the fight against neglected tropical diseases. In international news, millions of people in Sudan surviving on 1 meal a day as food crisis deepens. And thank you for staying